Good morning and welcome to the Iconic Production channel. I am JM. This is a show where we just hang out, we talk about games, we talk about things that we love, things that are beautiful, things that bring us joy. And this is a episode that I've been promising Bob I would do for a while. And first of all, let me say hello to everyone this fine morning indeed, Mr. Bob Crumb, who ran an excellent game of Dungeons and Dragons last night. It was just wonderful to hang out with him and hang out with some friends and roll some virtual dice and explore some mysteries. So thanks for that, Bob. Padre, good to see you, certified Torganic as always, and Mr. Rookcat, good to see you, my friend, as well. So this is an episode that I have been contemplating since last year when a good friend of mine by the name of Mr. Bob Crumb, I woke up to this message saying, you will enjoy this, you will enjoy the beauty, don't get frustrated. And it was a copy of Elden Ring. If you are not familiar with the game Elden Ring, you have probably been living under a rock, as it has outsold, I think, the Call of Duty games as well. It was this game by the people who did Dark Souls, but it is much more, I would say, beautiful. There's an inherent beauty to the game, and as we're approaching episode 100, we're going to be talking about beauty a lot more. So, Bob gets me this game. Never played a Souls game before. I walked through the tutorial of one and decided, trying Dark Souls 2 out while I am attempting to complete a master's and have a 3-year-old in the house was probably not great for anybody's sanity. So I decided to go ahead and give this game a try. And I was immediately struck by the beauty, the don't get frustrated advice I did not pay as much attention to, and essentially it's the story of this land that is broken. Through a variety of reasons, the order of the land has been broken. Everything that people once knew has been fragmented and cast into darkness. The hierarchies have broken down. Everything has kind of resumed this morass of chaos. And all you have is this little golden thread to follow, this golden line of grace. Now I want to go back and play all the Souls games, because if they are half as good as Elden Ring, they're going to be thoroughly enjoyable. I'm on my 5th playthrough of this game. Now, I don't normally talk about video games on Behind the Screen. We're a role-playing game channel. We're a gaming channel. So why am I talking about Elden Ring, especially if I'm not, if I'm on Twitch and talking about Elden Ring, but not having a ton of screen images, actual video game footage flying? Well, 2 reasons. One, it looks like Steamforged Games will be doing an Elden Ring role-playing game at some point, Bob. But also, because I do not think there is a better example today, or a more accessible example today, of the joys that I have in old school styles of gaming. If you want to know what it is like to play an old school style of game, buy Elden Ring. Make your character. Really doesn't matter what you make, because you have a little bit of a backstory. What's your homeland? What's your where are you from? And go into the world. What's the story? You have just enough of a story to get you out the gate. The game relies on your initiative and your accurate gauging of your skill. What's that over there? Does it have anything to do with what I'm working on? Don't know, but it's a cool ruin. It's a hole in the side of the mountain. It's a strange door. I'm going to go check that out. Will I find a cool piece of gear? Will I find something that's not worth anything to me but I could sell later? What am I getting out of going into these caves, these dungeons, exploring these ruins? You're getting treasure, and you're getting coin. Although in this game coins are called runes, but much like old school D&D, runes are used to purchase gear, buy better gear, and to level up. It's essentially a gold for XP economy. The story is what you make of it. It's one of the beautiful things of Elden Ring. Every time I go in, it is like going back into a half-remembered dream. I sort of know where things are, but I've put 700 hours into this game, and I still find new things. I find new connections. I find new ways of interpreting the game. This is all based off my experience of the game. The story of Elden Ring is far more what I make of it than any linear progression that I walk through. Now, granted, there is sort of this continual movement through the game as you are journeying through. Arcs develop. The story has a goal, but it is not one that gives you breadcrumbs to follow. I am just as invested in the strange freezes and interesting text written about the Shibiri grapes, which I will be using as my example here. So if you have not played Elden Ring, spoilers will be coming. So you have XP for gold, you have exploration-based play. And gear is what defines your character, not your stats, right? If you're playing an old school fighter, you are like every other old school fighter with slight variations until you find a Sunblade. A blade that's +1 but +3 versus lycanthropes. Suddenly, you're a werewolf hunter. And it should be pointed out that one other constant from old school gaming does appear in Elden Ring, and that is death. Now, unlike OSE, BX, AD&D, where death is permanent, but you really are only about 6 minutes away from making a new character, right? Most old school games are 7 sets of die rolls and you're ready to go. You roll your 6 stats in order, pick your class, throw on a race, and roll your hit points, and that's basically it. We have that same sort of feeling of high attrition in Elden Ring. Now, I will say this has also been inspired by a ongoing conversation with Game Master Matt, who has a brand new channel that I'll link into the show notes, because he is starting to talk about old school games, and it's been a wonderful joy. He came to Iconic through the Grand Campaign and kind of came from here. So you have this emergent play. You have this wonderful feeling of exploring the world even the next time through. And yeah, I'll admit, it's an investment. There's a lot of time. The game doesn't actually start working for you until you've spent probably 10, 15, 20 hours into it. And then you start to sense rhythms, and then you start to sense patterns, and then you start to understand how everything works together. Much like old school D&D. Things don't really start humming till you get to about 5th or 6th level. But you can't just skip to 5th or 6th level, because then you don't learn how the game works. You don't learn the rules and the structures of the experience you're moving through. Also, the gear you have isn't the gear you always want, but it may be the gear you need. I will steal a story from a friend of Iconic and co-host of the Iconic podcast, Mark Pileggi. Mark ran what I consider to possibly be the most brilliant double cross that I have heard of a GM doing outside of the head of Vecna. And that is the albino dragon in the north. So there was a white dragon terrorizing these villages. Now the players just heard it was a white dragon. They ignored the fact that it had red eyes and that it breathed fire. So they geared up to fight a white dragon. Rings of protection from cold and frost. Weapons of flame to do extra damage. The wizard prepared all of his spells. And I didn't bury the lead. I gave it away. It was an albino red dragon. The clues were there. but they didn't actually pick up on them. That happens legitimately all the time in this game, Elden Ring. So before getting any further, there is just a ton of stuff in the chat. Turns out Rook says Matt Mercer made a homebrew system for it as well. That's awesome. Padre, I get it. I have not played a lot of video games in recent memory, aside from Dark Tide, or games that I can just jump on for a couple of, 10, 15 minutes with friends. But I will be honest that this was worth it. Rook, you play Overwatch 2? We should share battle tags and play together sometime. Same with you, Restar. Good to see you on here, buddy. It is sandbox. Sandbox pain is fun, right? I love sandbox pain, and we're going to talk about the Shabiri Grape arc as kind of my ideal of this sandbox game. I don't know if it's the same GM, Matt. I will point that out. Hey, John, good to see you. The eyes were red and it breathed fire. Just saying. Tinker, you should join and play some Overwatch with us. Maybe we'll have to create an iconic Overwatch voice chat for people who just want to get on and play. So, Emergent Story is the name of the game in old school gaming. It's sort of held up as the golden ideal. Whereas in more modern games, the narrative arc is held up, again, as the ideal. And I feel like my games tend to be a little bit of both. I really like having a sandbox to play in, but as soon as the players grasp onto a narrative thread, they want to follow it, and I'm totally okay with that. So whether you are a pure sandbox or you are an West Marches style game, or whether you are a complex narrative plot structure person, that's great. Play the games that you and your table like the most. But again, I think this is one of the things that Elden Ring appealed to me for. There is a narrative plot. The lands in between have been broken. Only an Elden Lord can set things right. Although what that means, again, depends completely upon you. However, the game is built about exploration. You will encounter things that you should not encounter, and you run back. I remember the first time that I accidentally fell into Caelid at like level 13. This land ravaged by disease. I very quickly learned 3 or 4 deaths in about the same amount of time, in minutes, that I was not supposed to be here and I needed to GTFO. But there are also these little plot threads, and this is something that I think we can all take away as game masters. Subplots can become very vital to the game, and if your players latch onto them, they can and they should be rewarded with changing the outcome of your campaign. Last night in the D&D game, my character definitely created a connection, positive or negative, real or implied, with a halfling cook, and ended up in an entire subplot with the Halfling Thieves Guild of Waterdeep. And soon I will probably owe them a massive favor that will continue to drive the story. So, in Elden Ring, you are attempting to become the Elden Lord, set the world right, reforge the Elden Ring, and bring peace back to the land. This ring that was shattered, that created all of this chaos and this disintegration, this chaos in the Gloranthan. Michael Moorcockian? It's weird to say that on stream. I'm pretty sure I can say Moorcockian on stream and not get hit for anything. Style of chaos, which is dissolution. It is the violence that separates you, not just from yourself, not just from your community, but the natural order, the community, even your sense of self. Like, look at how all of the lords, the previous demigods, have fallen from what they once were. So, as you're going along, you will encounter NPCs, most of which end just horribly, and I love it. But your goal is to reforge this Elden Ring. And you encounter this young blind woman who is looking for something called Shibiri grapes. If you do nothing but find Shibiri grapes and give them to her, congratulations. She tells you a little tale about being blind and seeing a light and always wanting to be a maiden, which are these dispensers of grace that help guide people towards the goal of restoring the Elden Ring. But if you take the time to listen to the story, to look at the items that you are giving to this woman, you discover that Shibiri grapes are actually human eyes. And as you start interacting with other objects, looking at other murals and putting together just kind of what you see around you, you'll discover that Shibiri was this person who was blinded for heresy. And in being blinded for heresy, became the vessel of something that opposes the two fingers, which are the stela, to use Torg terms, the conduits through which the greater will talks to the world. The three fingers would be an abomination. Although it is interesting to notice that there are the two fingers and the three, and together they form a hand. So as you continue down this person's storyline, and again, I did say spoilers, so please understand there is spoilers here for Elden Ring. If you follow this NPC's quest, you can interpret her riddles by listening to her clues. Nothing here is handed to you. You can encounter the three fingers and become, instead of the Elden Lord, you can end the world in flame and chaos. You change the ending of your game based off of the experiences that you have in the table or in the game. Is there anything more role-playing, though, than an experiential game that changes based off what you actually experience? John Doomch has brought up that the dice tell the story. It is if there is a subtitle to the Iconic Production channel, it is that dice tell the story. I've mentioned it many times before. If you get everything you want in exactly the way you wanted it, win every fight, defeat every challenge, did you really have any agency? I love the term that the dice are the oracular powers of fate at our table. Sometimes you roll really well at the things you shouldn't, and something changes. Sometimes you fail at the thing you're supposed to be good at, and the story goes in a completely new direction. As Certified Torganic says, yes, in Torg, the cards tell a story as well. Like the extremely arrogant and handsome Zorba Aladdin playing Star-Crossed Lovers on the Darkness device and becoming the new High Lord in the Iconic verse. It's this little corner of the Infiniverse. The dice tell a story. And that story is not always the one that we want to hear. The first time I encountered, is it Henna's? Is Henna the name of the NPC, Bob? I'm going to rely on you. Because as much as I've played this game, I know Bob has delved deeper than I have. I followed her questline all the way to the end. And discovered that I had locked out all of the other endings because I didn't listen to the warning signs. Now there's a very difficult way of undoing that. Because, right, in theory, very few choices at the table should be irrevocable if you're willing to sacrifice for it. Right? What is resurrection but the chance to undo something permanent in a game? The other thing I think Elden Ring does a great job, a frustratingly good job, is the maxim, show, don't tell. If I put Elden Ring in kind of the middle of this sandbox versus narrative plot, games like Divinity or Baldur's Gate, these are kind of our very linear sort of not linear, but you understand what I mean. Very like, here's the plot as we're moving forward. Heta, that's what it is. Hieta. Ah, man. Anyway, take inspiration from this. The fact that there is a boss that you faced, General Radahn, whose battle isn't about actually engaging with him, but raising and leading an army against him without being told that. The feel of the fight is changed based off what is shown. Very rarely are you given blatant explanation or blatant exposition on what is going on. You have to infer, and here's the thing. Players at our tables will infer things from what we have said or described that we could never have come up with, but may actually be better than what we came up with, or may inspire something else to greatness. Let things like this sit with you. Let them change your game experience. We can find as gamers inspiration from anything. It's one of the beauties of role-playing games. I personally just found that, man, this game has inspired quite a bit. It's why I bought Blackbirds. It's why I cannot wait to run Blackbirds. So, hopefully, we'll have our actual session 1 of Blackbirds here next week, and I'll have something to report sometime in March about how my personal Blackbirds game is going at my table. So, that is kind of my look at the OSR and Elden Ring. If you get into Elden Ring and you can get past the frustration, the initial frustration, and you like that style of game, heck, check out Axe, check out OSE, go crazy with DCC. If you get through it and you're like, that was beautiful, but I never want to experience that style of play, that's fine. Maybe the OSR isn't for you. But I will say, if you were looking to dip your toe into an older style of role-playing game with as brightly polished mechanics and graphics as you can, you could do a lot worse than trying out Elden Ring. I don't even have an affiliate link for Elden Ring. I've always told you guys I'm just going to talk about what I love and relate it back to what we're talking about. So tonight, that brings us to the end of today's discussion. Tonight and then Thursday, we're going to be talking about Savage Worlds because we are building the Crucible of Realms, a Savage setting that we're going to be running on the Iconic Production channel. Tonight's stream, we are not playing Deadlands. Instead, we are going to be playing, I'm going to be hanging out, doing a sort of an extended behind the screen where I'm going to be talking about Crucible of Realms, what it is, what setting rules we have in place, what new edges and hindrances we're playing around with, what ancestries, and sort of the history of the campaign setting. And as I come to stumps or places that you guys feel inspired, please feel free to show up and share your inspiration with me, and maybe it'll make it into the setting. Maybe we'll twist it around a bit, make it an NPC that's inspired directly by you, the chat, and you'll get to see come to life in March when the campaign goes live. So that's it for today. Thank you all for joining me on Behind the Screen. It has been wonderful just being able to chat again about this beautiful game that, as I play through it, makes me feel about the same way I feel about my earliest days playing role-playing games, when everything was a sandbox and everything was a new experience. And I remember both now with sort of this dreamlike quality to it. Yeah. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I am JM. This is Behind the Screen, and this has been an Iconic production. We'll see you all tonight and on Thursday for more Behind the Screen. Have a good one.